Karakia, Timatanga, Whakatakata hau. Whakatakata hau ki te ulu, whakatakata hau ki te tonga, ki ma kina kina kiuta, ki ma taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te atakula, hei tū, hei hoka, hei hauhu, ti hei maoliora.
A tēnā koutou katoa, ka uri au tak whakaro ki ngā tini aitua kua wehi atu ki te pō. I tēnei wā, te pauri nei o te whānau o Pōranga hau, o Wairewa hoki, ki tō tātou hoa, tō tātou whanaunga, tō tātou taonga o Benita Wakefield. E Benita, haere koe ki tō whānau o Pōranga hau, ki tō whenua o Pōranga hau, i tēnei wā, ki tō wāhi nehu, ki tō wāhi Whakamutunga, kia koe taku whanaunga, taku taonga, moi mai rā. Takoto mai I roto I tō Whakamutunga, haere koe ki te poho o tō whenua, tēnā koe moi mai rā. Ki tō whānau hoki, tō whānau Kirimati, ka arawaha kia rātou. Rātou kia rātou, tātou kia tātou tohunga ora. Tēnā koutou, nau mahara mai ki tēnei hui o tātou, te hui whakaira nei, mō te kaupapa o LGNZ, nei te mihi, ki ngā kai kaunihera, kai mahi, nā memo te hāpori e mātaki nei, tēnā koutou. Nō reira, rau rangatira mā, tēnā koutou katoa. So just standing, thank you Claire for the karakia, and just acknowledging the passing of our whanaunga, Benita Wakefield, the other day, and just noting that Councillor Cranwell is accompanying that the tangi and is up there at Pōranga hau this morning. So just acknowledging that. And we did do acknowledgements yesterday in our meeting about Benita and the work that she had done with us on behalf of her whānau from Wairewa, especially in the CWMS. So yeah, just acknowledging that. So kia ora. Thanks, Peter.
Kia ora, thank you for that, Claire, and thank you for that also, Craig. Welcome to the 569th Council meeting. Been informed we have a quorum, and we do have a new staff recommendation other than that was published for item 7.1 today. Her apologies from Councillor Cranwell, as Craig has alluded to, and Pōranga hau, Councillor Ward, and we have Councillor Swiggs online. So currently in Waitangi walking around the flagpole, which is pretty interesting. With the president of LGNZ, Sam Brook. But number 3, conflicts of interest. We don't have any, no forums or deputations, no extraordinary business or urgent business, no notices of motion, and so we have one report item today, which I'll ask Patrick if you'd come forward, Patrick Lindsay, Principal Strategy Advisor, to introduce this report. And it's about the Local Government New Zealand Special General Meeting, which will be on Monday. Patrick.
Councillors, thank you, Chair. So this paper seeks your endorsement of a Canterbury Regional Council position on Local Government New Zealand's future by local government work. So this work, as you know, is intended to act as a basis for future LGNZ advocacy and engagement work with central government. And the positions you reach today will be reflected in the vote, as the Chair mentioned, that will be put forward in the special general meeting on Monday. And as the Chair noted as well, there's been a few amendments following the LGNZ National Council's change in approach that they discussed with members on Monday last week. I'll detail this shortly, but broadly they mean that LGNZ members will be being asked to endorse specific sections of the position paper individually, as opposed to taking a single vote on the whole thing, as you've previously been advised and as is detailed in the paper that's in front of you. So just to recap background, as you know, this LGNZ paper emerged out of the Future for Local Government work, which was initiated by government in 2021 and was led by an independent panel. The positions in the paper are the result of work across the last 5 months or so by an LGNZ advisory group, which the chair has been a member of, and LGNZ members and staffers. LGNZ's intent was to develop positions based on the Future for Local Government report's recommendations, and which could also achieve consensus support by the local government sector. And that would underpin how and whether the Future for Local Government's panel's recommendations would proceed. So the positions in the paper are around 5 key areas, in LGNZ's words: building a new system of government that's fit for purpose, rebalancing the country's tax take between local and central government, creating stronger, more authentic relationships between local government, iwi, hapu, and Māori, aligning central, regional, and local government priorities, and strengthening local government democracy and leadership. There's a range of legislative, collaborative, and other actions under each of those headings, but I won't go into the detail as they're outlined in the paper in front of you, but happy to answer questions about them further. LGNZ have reinforced with members that the positions in the paper in front of you are intended as long-term and enduring drivers to underpin all future advocacy work. They're not just intended for this incoming government alone, they're intended to endure across multiple governments, and they'll be used to inform tailored advocacy material that they'll tailor to the needs of different audiences in different ways. Now, briefly on the differences that National Council have agreed for the upcoming SGM, based on the feedback they've received from across the sector since this paper was circulated late last month. Essentially, these are amendments to paragraphs 22 and 23 of the council paper in front of you. So firstly, the special general meeting will take a vote on each of the 5 areas in the position paper individually, as opposed to one vote on the whole paper. This enables councils to indicate a more nuanced position around support for each of the areas, and LGNZ to focus advocacy on each of those areas. And secondly, the special general meeting will now take a simple majority of 51% to indicate endorsement for each of those individual areas. This differs from the 75% consensus position that LGNZ had previously indicated that they'd be using. And it aligns with the majority that's required for the adoption of any standard remit that goes forward to an LGNZ AGM or special general meeting. And as the chair mentioned, there's additional new resolutions that have been provided for discussion at this council meeting to align with the change in approach for the special general meeting. Kia ora koutou, happy to take questions about that, and if not, I will leave it to you.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Look, I'm going to go out our order, normal operating procedure and ask Patrick to stay at the table. My preference, this is my preference, but and I'll state it early, is to take them all as one and get a sign off on those. But in the first instance, go through these one by one at the specific information that councillors need on these issues. And the first one is build a system of government that's fit for purpose. There's a commentary on that from councillors. I take it that everyone's up to date with all this. Councillor Sunkel.
Thank you. It seems to me somewhat ethereal, and when I read through what's trying to be achieved, I agree with it, and it's soft. But when I think about what is genuinely required within local government, 60 or 70 different TAs and regional authorities, the future for a bunch of those small authorities is an amalgamation, I think, at time. And yet I don't see that at all reflected in these conversations. So I really struggle to support that motion, because I just really don't see it cutting to the chase of what's required. It's kind of like business as normal, as you might expect to have a conversation, but there's no revolution or transition in what I see in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the same. I mean, I'll support it, because I think it's a way of ensuring that there's some dialogue on that issue. But it struck me there's a lot of talk about localism. I'm thinking, does that mean business as usual in terms of the way things operate people wanting to be able to do their own thing. I'm thinking, well, how does that fit in with everything else? But yeah, I think what is the system of government and the relationships between government, regional, local. I think that's really important. And I think with those analysis of this existing system will help shape that.
The interesting point about this is a distillation of about 2.5 years' work and a lot of money by a panel that went round and interviewed us and all other territorial authorities and regional councils and unitary authorities regarding what they thought are the things that we need to fix. And they came up with 17 recommendations. Local government New Zealand have put it down into these 5 things that are important to them. The local government steering group, which I was a part of, saw that these weren't the specific issues that we would talk to a local government minister about, but they were the issues that were in front of local government at the moment. So this is an opportunity to have some empirical evidence supporting a conversation with. It's not that these would be bargaining points with the minister. So there's 2 things here. One is trying to get a consensus over all that work that's been done and those workshops that we've had to get to here, and then national councils pulled it apart and said, "Oh no, we don't think that's right. We think there's these individual things that we need a vote on." My experience in this council is there's nothing here that would offend us. Nothing here.
Just, I mean, I've spoken often saying how I think local government actually is in a position to be really, really significant in terms of well-being and outcomes for our communities. Like, I know that Councillor Liz Mackenzie last term used to talk about how centralised New Zealand is, and that actually there's a lot of opportunity for us to do more. And for me, this is absolutely sort of speaks to some of the restructuring and the like that needs to occur to enable us to do more locally, but it's in the medium to long term, and that gives time to have those important conversations to work out what structures and how big or small or whatever, and really reconfigure that. It is in there, it's just not stating it's not specifics, but it's certainly noted in there to my mind. So for example, if you're setting up a working group in the medium term, establishing a transition unit, support capability development, and building a system that's fit for purpose. There's a number of things in there. So I feel, and actually this one taken with part 2, the second around the finances, obviously those 2 things have to go hand in hand, because we can't be enabled to do endlessly more that we know we're capable of, and working really closely with our communities. And that's the thing that's important, is enabling communities to have a voice. And in fact, the bit about local democracy and the like is the other part. I mean, it's all critical, and it all is integrated, and making sure that we enable communities. So for me, citizen assembly type of greater communication with our citizens and hearing what everyone wants. It's very much, I can see why it sort of is a whole package, but I don't feel like this is steering away from any of those difficult conversations.
Kia ora, kai whakahaere, koutou rā o te tepu o Taurihira Waitaha. Can I just take your point, Peter, is the fact that there's nothing in this paper that is materially kind of an issue. And I kind of agree with that, but just the sentiments, particularly of Councillor Sunkel, with the fact is that, to me, a lot of this has been talked about for a long time. And, it's great that we've had this Future for Local Government review. You kind of get to the point where, and I sat on the Local Government Environment Select Committee, and, time and time again, there were people that came in and talked about a new system of government fit for purpose, rebalancing the country's tax take, all of those 5 points. And you get to the point where it's around, after all that was said and done, there was more said than done. And so I think we're at this point here now where we've got something actually quite tangible. There's been a lot of work, as you said, Peter, a lot of money spent, a lot of kōrero. But there's one point in here that I think it's going to become quite topical. But as we know, we just got to keep moving on. But it's that number C, that point C. Create stronger, more authentic relationships between local government and iwi hapu Māori. So that one's been around forever. And I think that if you dig deeper into that, you've got to identify those councils that have been progressive and that have actually done something about it, because the model in some ways has already been cast. And so I'm just, I think that the emphasis on that, and it's not just about Māori actually, it's about tangata tiriti as well, because it's got to work actually together. There's got to be that sort of balance, because what we're actually experiencing in some ways is that a lot of New Zealanders believe the balance is actually not balanced. So if anything here, it needs to be looked at, it needs to be, you know, progressive exemplars need to be actually identified, and I believe this council is one of them. And actually, the model, as I said, has been cast. It's okay casting a model, but it's how you implement it and how you actually truly, you know, keep the thing alive, moving forward. It's a living thing. It's a living document. The other part of it for Māori is that we talk about tax, but we also have to look at the rating system as well. Because when you look at multiple owned land that we actually pay rates on, we still don't get the opportunity to vote. And that's a big one, actually, you know, from a Māori perspective, ratepayers. And we kind of are victims of a colonial sort of past where there wasn't anything taken into account about multiple owned land. You had to actually own land outright before you could actually vote in that particular area. So there are 2 points that I think, but I actually support this paper. I think that really they're on the right track. I went to that, if we remember last year, we went to the update when it was here in Christchurch. And I thought that, hey, let's hope something comes out of this. We're seeing something tangible here in this paper. So kia ora, thank you.
That's an interesting point, because I mean, I think by the conclusion of that workshop, and others were at it, there, as somebody said, this is just going to be another doorstop. You know, it was a big document. This will be just a doorstop, and I think that that's up to us to make it more than a doorstop. Make it an opportunity. If there's a mandate there from local government to actually have conversations about these things here, you know, build a new system. We know about that. Yeah, we're up for that. Rebalance the tax take. We bang on about that all the time. Create stronger relationships with iwi. Well, we're in that. Align central and local government priorities. I mean, this is all the stuff that we're wanting to do. So I you know, from my point of view, that all the bits underneath it, it's the headings that are important to me. In and then read.
Well, just a point of clarification. When Councillor Karakia says Māori don't get to vote, they do get to vote. They get to vote. Everybody gets to vote. Yeah, please.
If I own land and I'm paying rates on it, okay, down in say mid Canterbury, Māori land, okay, I don't get to actually be able to vote in that particular constituency. And yet I own land and I pay rates. And that's been a big beef actually for quite some time. Landless people who actually live in urban dwellings, okay, would prefer to actually be voting in their own area where they own whenua, as opposed to being in non-Māori whenua land, where they may be renting or whatever.
It's only true if you're an absentee landlord. I mean, if I owned a flat in Christchurch, I get a choice of whether I vote in Christchurch, where I own the property, or in Ashburton. I don't get two votes.
Or define. Really not getting on this.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you make points on this, and I'll go to Greg.
Kia ora, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief. Look, for me, it's obvious that local and regional government needs change. There are a multitude of exceptionally large areas which we will be focusing on going into the future. I think from a financial perspective, we recognise, especially now with the media around council struggling with some of the figures they're talking about for LTPs right across the country, that this is definitely a significant issue. The other one would be too, I support Councillor Karakia about progressive and models. I am very, I feel very privileged to work as a councillor for the Konehira Taio Ki Waitaha, and the fact that they sought to get the Act of Parliament through, and I think that that is a model. I do often think though that ngā mata waka, I don't quite know how that sort of fits within an area, but I certainly support the way that Environment Canterbury have led from this position. So that's really all I have to say, and I will support it.
I just want to make the point. I just want to make the point though, is that and it's not about the fact that you own something in say a city, and you own something out there. I understand I understand the fact that you only get one vote, but when you're on ancestral land, there should be some mechanism, and let's not just keep it to Māori, but there should be some mechanism where you get to choose. If you don't vote where you're renting, well, the option is to go, and a lot of Māori want to vote where their ancestral land is. That's my point here about, and they pay rates. So there should be a choice, not only just Māori, then others that live in the city, yet they actually have land in their rural areas or wherever. That's where I'm going.
I don't think this is going to be a definitive point, actually. So I think we should get off this. I want to give people other opportunity, and my councillors on my right-hand side are saying, let's go around the table. Well, let's go around the table then. You start.
It wasn't around the table. I thought we were going 1 to 5, discussing each individual, and we've jumped to a big conversation.
Well, I did too. That's what I thought we would do. But I also said at the start of this that I would like to take them all as one. So you can have a comment on that, and then we'll go them one by one if you want to. Craig.
Got it, Peter. Yeah, I'm happy to speak to all of it. Just highlight some points. Yeah, I agree with the sentiment that there's nothing in here that is alarming to us, and in fact it aligns with a lot of stuff that we've already been doing, particularly the point around point 3 or C, around relationships with iwi and hapu. Yeah, I actually think it probably doesn't go far enough, but I'd like to see us support that. I think probably the most significant thing in here for me, and it came up when we did meet with the panel last year, is around the rebalancing tax take between government and local government, and just the funding, the whole funding model. Like, I think that's the thing that's really broken, and that's the thing I'd like to see some work on. It might be a long time waiting, but I think that's a really important conversation for LG and Z, all of us actually, all councils, to have with government about how things can be done differently, because it's clear to me that you can't invest in the infrastructure that you need if you're not willing to put your rates up to match it, and if you're not willing to go with inflation plus, then it just doesn't work. And that's what's happened over successive generations, I think. So that's what I really would like to see fixed. Hopefully there's an acknowledgement of that within government, that we just can't go on the way we are. And I think when you sort that, a lot of other things become better. So that's the big one that I think, I hope we can all agree on, that getting that right is really important. I think all the other stuff in there, I mean, there's the 4-year terms interesting, but I think that's a good discussion to have. It'd be good to see where that can land. And things like the regional packages that are mentioned, outcomes frameworks, I think they're all good things. and the strengthening democracy stuff as well. I think there's a lot to learn there, and a lot to be explored about some different systems and better ways going forward, because everything is changing. So yeah, overall, I do support what we're doing. I agree with others that it maybe doesn't go far enough, but at least it opens up that conversation, like Councillor Southwest said. And I think maybe Councillor Edge, that we can have that conversation, or LGNC can have that conversation with the new government and see where we can land some stuff. So, kia ora. Thank you.
Pretty much. I pretty much support it as well. There's definitely some key areas which were identified early on about the conservation efforts, and it wasn't really threaded through it. However, it doesn't sort of hinder our own efforts. We can, yeah, it doesn't stop the sort of local efforts from happening, and it is Craig identified. I think it's we've just got to really look at the local democracy and leadership area as well, and push for more regional enabling, I guess. But yeah, I support it as it is. Thank you. I had my say, and I probably brought the conversation all into one, but yeah, support as it is.
In terms of the thing, it's to me what you've come up with at the moment seems to be an endorsement of the original Future for Local Government report. Those 17 key items, they're not all included in here. Like the lowering of the voting age to 16 is not in there.
Yeah.
Things like that. But I think on the whole, you know, it's really good. And I kind of look at our point 21 there, the consensus outcome paper intended to set direction of tailored advocacy material. And I think, given the current government that we've got and some of the things that have been said, I think getting the advocacy going around the table, agreeing on what you can agree on within those 5 things, I think that would be a really good step. But I agree with Councillor Pauling that the tax issue and how the funding is going to work, the issue of the GST business that local authorities have been after for a long time, and otherwise, I think it's all looking good.
Yeah, I will probably be supporting it. Yep, all good.
Yesterday I sort of talked in the RPS discussion about the elephant in the room and being the new government and a whole host of things that are heading in a bit of a landslide in very short term, and I'm sort of wondering really whether we're going to see this proposal substantially sort of affected by government action. Having said that, I agree to a degree with the sentiments that were expressed by Councillor Sunkel earlier. On point 1, I don't really have too much of an issue with point 2. Point 3 is obviously well entrenched in what the government may or may not do. And I don't have really any great worries too much with aligning priorities and strengthening local democracy and leadership. But yeah, I just think that we can be preempting a lot of things ourselves and then being steamrolled by government action down the track. So I'm a little bit cautious and wary of endorsing everything and anything in this proposal, because there are some actions that are looming that may just put a whole big spanner in the works.
Chairman, I've been underwhelmed by the Future for Local Government review right from its get-go, and when we met with the panel, I was even more underwhelmed, I have to say. And I reflect on comments the Prime Minister made yesterday in Parliament about how you make democracy work. I believe in democracy, and Shane Jones was lamenting the fact that too many people didn't speak enough Greek to understand the purpose of democracy, which is actually one man, one vote. And apparently women too, I should say. So. And I strongly believe in that. And I don't like the tenet of the future of local government thrust. I don't like the thrust of this. I'm not sure that we need to build a new system of government that's fit for purpose. I'm not sure that the current system is not fit for purpose. I just don't think a lot of elected officials are a bit lazy to make sure it does work properly. And that was what the Prime Minister was reflecting on yesterday in his speech. I don't like 5. There's nothing in the strength and local democracy and leadership I like, because it's all about actually screwing the scrum to a particular demographic or demographics and taking away one man, one vote. And I can tell you that I don't know anybody in my constituencies that would support that. The only part in this that I do quite like is the rebalancing the country's tax take between central and local government. I'm not sure that we have a system that has broken as badly as it is. And I think where you've got people, elected officials who work really hard for their constituency, I think you get strong support and the democratic process works. I've got real issues with 3, and I will say them, and they may be uncomfortable for this council, but it seems to me that if you're going to put in statutory requirements to work with iwi, runanga, hapu, whoever, then there has to be a balancing and an accountability for how they respond to that responsibility they're given. And I'm not sure that we've seen that entirely. I know it's a work in progress with Ngāi Tahu, but I'm not convinced we've seen it. And certainly if I was to poll my constituency, they would say they don't want to be held ransom by runanga. So I think we need a lot of work still to be done in that area. And I think central government's direction may be reflecting some of that feedback. I'm not smart enough to understand everything that's affecting central government. But I think you've got to have a balance. And I don't know that I don't read in these papers that balancing or that holding runanga, iwi, hapu to account as part of their responsibility. So I think that needs to be included if that's the direction we're taking. So I will vote against this, pretty much, unless we break it down, and the only part I could vote for is 2.
Yeah, obviously I listened to the debate, but I'm likely to support these positions. However, I also have a bit of a different take that I think LGNZ have dropped the ball a little bit on this. By spending the amount they have on kind of building this grand vision on the back of a minister saying it's up to you guys to build consensus on this, and then last minute, a week out, call the National Council meeting and redraw up the adoption process. I was at the call on Monday, and to me, the LGNZ leadership have taken on something bigger than anticipated. And we know why they've gotten speed wobbles. But how did they not foresee that those speed wobbles were coming? So, like I said, I reluctantly am in the mind of supporting this, but I think maybe we need to next year consider the role of LGNZ in Canterbury. And on that note, I acknowledge the leadership that Peter and Stephanie are showing in the regional space, and I wonder if Te Uru Kahika, while being an organ of local government New Zealand, is a more natural place for us to embed our positions in.
Fine. Thank you.
Although, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Come on.
Yeah, look, my thinking is a little bit like Joe's. I mean, I'm really concerned that the LGNZ came to us and they started out with a consensus position on these five key areas, and they have been distilled down from the 17 areas that came back as a result of the 2-year project, I think, really, a review that was done. So I'm disappointed that it's now gone from pretty much a consensus position to a majority, 50+1. I'm a little bit like Ian. I won't be able to support them all, Peter, if you put them on the line together, but if that's the wish of the committee, that's fine. I'll work with that. I would prefer them to be one by one. I have some sympathy for John's view around the direction, but I do think from what I'm hearing is that there's already a sense, particularly from several of the mayors that I've spoken to, that there is a need to develop relationships and work together and collaborate, and what that may look like at a local level is still to happen. So I think the message is getting through. So, but I do agree that we need to maintain localism, and I'm not quite sure how we get that when we've got in parts of New Zealand really significant sizes of cities, and then flanked by provincial or rural areas where the areas of interest are probably a little different. So there's some real tensions there that concern me. I guess the two ones for me that are support funding, definitely support. Number two, looking at funding. I mean, for me, the two areas are around three, and it goes back to sort of Ian's point around the need for a statutory process. To me, that's pushing people into a way, and I think if I look at what Environment Canterbury's done, or Canterbury Regional Council's worked through in the last 13 or 14 years, really, around developing that partnership. I think it's about embracing culture and values and actually reflecting them in all our processes and work, but it has to be the authentic thing, which I think was what Nick was talking about here. And so if it's directed in a statutory process, I think that that is not helpful to me. I think that it's got to be a natural process to get those partnerships working properly and in an enduring manner. So the way it's written in the moment, I don't think I can support the way it's written, but I'm supportive of where we've come from as an organisation and the continuing that process through. I have some concerns around the 4-year term. I think I have put those on the table in front of my councillor colleagues before. I think that could be a barrier for some people standing for environment, well, for councils, be it TA or a regional council. And it may mean that it actually works out to be more expensive in the long run. You may find you get a whole lot of one-term councils, because to commit to 6 years versus an 8-year term is quite different. I can't support 5 in, get back to my right page here because I'm flicking between screens. I sit here as an elected representative to represent, and I'm having trouble actually aligning participatory and deliberative democracy processes as well, because it really, to me, that undermines the reason why I would actually stand and try and represent a constituency and the whole lot of views. I also don't believe that it is the TA's or the regional council's role to invest in civics education. I think that is a central government role in as it's written, and I haven't been able to find it back in the full document, the clarity around who was going to actually invest in it. So, yeah, I won't be supporting 3 and 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologise for my outburst. It's extremely emotive space that we live in. One, as I've spoken briefly to that, there's parts of that I agree with, and I am an advocate for a 4-year term and bits and pieces, but as I stated originally, I just don't see the transformation that talks about funding for future, but it talks about stuff, and for me it's all hooey, and there's not enough dewy or contentious stuff in there to actually drive a conversation. So yeah, indifferent to it and probably don't support it because it doesn't go far enough. Number 2, the rebalancing of the tax. We've been advocating for that for so long. Productivity Commission reports and submissions and whatever. Absolutely agree with that. My challenge with number 3 on the stronger authentic relationships between local government, iwi and hapu, the piece in there that would bring me to a point of not supporting it is, as Councillor Mackay has said, is the statutory component of it. As an advocate for the Naitahu bill that we put through, supported that, worked with Nook. We missed out the first time around, it came in the second time. That was our choice. And so I guess for me, there's some subsidiarity as what works for individual councils or TAs. The statutory part of it leaves me concerned. So like you say, I don't support it in the enforced space. It's probably the libertarian in me. Number 4, align central regional government priorities. Yeah, absolutely agree. The overreach, the stuff that's happened out of the last government, we need to absolutely be in our lanes, understand responsibilities, and have it step through. And I don't think we've had that. So I can agree with that. And with others such as the strengthening the democracy, again, I'm kind of challenged with that. It's kind of ethereal, and why am I here? Why do I put myself through processes if we have these other processes that effectively tell us how we will govern and run? So I can't support number 5. If it goes up as 1, I probably leaning to not supporting it, although there are some good things in it. But I just find the whole document, for the years of work and the funding that's gone into it, is it doesn't have the strength that I thought might have come out of it, and the transformation. It's still just talking about what we think might happen into the future without actually nominating what it might be.
Dion, are you listening to this, Dion?
Yeah, I've been listening to the whole thing, and it's been a good debate. So thanks everybody for it. Hold on a second. I will ultimately, I think, when I first read the report, I was a little bit disappointed, and it's why I was disappointed, and a lot of that has been covered by other councillors. But on the balance of it, when I've actually thought about it, we need to have something to start a conversation, and I don't disagree with all of the points that are in the paper as conversation starters. And from the conversations that I've had recently, LGNZ are up for having those conversations, and they need to have those conversations, and they're willing to do those quite quickly. So for that, I'll support all of the motions. But as I said, I am disappointed. I thought there could have been more. But I hope that the process from here will start something that we'll see there's more systemic change. And like was also said, there is opportunities in here for the regional sector. So I want to leave that because I think taking some leadership as a regional approach to some of the stuff that the government needs to deliver, and we may be able to deliver those, might be quite good. So good debate. Thanks everybody, and I'll support all 5 of the motions.
All right, thank you, Dion. So I guess the first task here is to get the mood of the council to see if anyone is prepared to move that we take these all as one, and put that and see where the temperature of the room is after that. So do we have someone move that? So that's moved by Councillor Southworth and seconded by Councillor Pauling. I don't think we need any further debate because I think we've had the discussion about that. It's not a debating issue. I think that putting this motion to the council, I think I'll ask for, yes, you can.
I think if this motion is passed, I think it is actually a sad day for democracy, because democracy only survives if you fight for democracy, and we're not. We're running away from it in this motion.
And I don't really want to get into this with you here, Councillor McKenzie, but there was at least 150 democratically elected people that actually got this document to this point in time. So when you talk about it's a sad day for democracy, it's a sad day for 150 people. Really sad day. That's what I'd say to them.
That happens.
It does happen. I said I was going to say before you put your hand. Anyone else want to say? I don't think we want to get into a throwing competition here. Before I think I'll ask for a division on this so that we've got a true understanding where people stand on this. If you don't mind, are you in support of that?
Can I just say that we have supported ourselves as a progressive council, and some of the things that I've heard in this debate puts us back into a non-progressive council. And really this, as I pointed out before, item 21 talks about it is a basis for some advocacy and conversation, and that's all it is. So that annoys me that we perhaps going to step out of our progressive thought processes over the last 4 years, for me at least.
I don't think that stops us from having those conversations. This is, and I always get this wrong. Is there 70 of these organisations throughout New Zealand? Is it? 69. There's 69 of them. 16 of those are regional councils or unitary authorities. Auckland aren't in this, so that's 15. That's 15 off that. So 54 people, 54 organisations are really the guts of this. This is where this is coming from. Point that was made by Councillor Davies, and I think the point that was also made by you, Claire, maybe if I can recall properly, regarding Te Uru Kahika and what our future is. This will determine some of that. Where this gets to will determine some of that. We quite rightly will lead a conversation for the good of Canterbury and the things that we want to do. And we've got as I said to you yesterday, we've got a far better idea where we want to go than most people. So I wouldn't be scared of this at all. Councillor Burns.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I, after listening to everyone at the table, I personally wanted, I mean, obviously going to call for division, but I would rather see each of them taken individually, given that it's now changed before we got to the meeting. I think if there are clearly differences around it, if they're good, they're going to stand on their own, and I think it's where I want to be anyway.
I need to take a minute here because technically I could be wrong on this. Technically I could be wrong taking them all as one. I need to check that out before we actually jump in a poll we shouldn't be in. If you don't mind, if we can just take a adjournment for 10 minutes till past. All right, we'll get started again. The reason, councillors, the reason that we took that little break there is because the way I'm proposing to handle this goes against the staff recommendation, which came from a recommendation from LGNZ that these things should be handled one by one. My sense of this room is that all these things will get through whether we do it either way. That's my sense of this, and so that's why I was wanting to put it, put these up as one, and it doesn't change the way we would vote. Individually, if they all get through on a vote, or collectively they all got through on a vote, then the answer is yes, 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 yes for 5. So I cannot see. So staff advice is that I shouldn't do this, but my advice is that this is what I want to do. And it doesn't change the result of the way you vote. It doesn't bring anything into question. This is our council chamber. Unless you're going to push this forward, Grant, I don't know what you're going to say. No, I don't want an amendment to this. We either do this or I go back to the room and we discuss whether we should go back to one for one. I'm not wanting any amendment.
One by one allows division to be clearly stated on each of these items.
So I was happy to go with the one. So
okay. So I get a sense that one of the debate on each of these. So if I go, have we done enough debate?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, could I just say that I think democracy was brought into whether or not it was, but what I would say is division on each one is certainly showing that there's been plenty of opportunity.
We just get the process sorted out then. So the process here is that I will go back to the mover and sector, see if they're happy for us to withdraw that motion. Councillor Southworth, are you happy that we do that? Councillor Pauling, are you happy that we do that? So that's done. So that is now off the table. Right. If you're happy enough to go on by one, we will go to the first one. Put it up there on the thing. And I take it, Councillor Burns, that you're suggesting we have a division on each of these?
Yes, I am. Sure.
Councillor Scott,
4.
Councillor Southworth,
4.
Councillor
4.
Councillor Mackay, Councillor East. Councillor Swiggs.
4.
Councillor Sunkel.
4.
Councillor Pauling.
4.
Councillor Robinson.
4.
Councillor Davies. Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Burns.
4.
Councillor Diche.
4.
Councillor Korako.
I don't know.
I have that 13-1. Pass. 4. Carried.
Thank you. So, recommendation 1 has been carried 13-1. Recommendation 2, and we'll look for a mover in a second once that's on the screen. So moved by Councillor Sunkel, seconded by Councillor Burns. We are not going to do a division on this one. So all those in favour, please say aye. All those against, that is carried. So 3. If you want to move this, seconder, Councillor Pauling, moved by Councillor Karako, seconded by Councillor Pauling.
Councillor Swiggs.
Yes.
Councillor Davies. Councillor East. Councillor Pauling. Councillor Korako.
Aye.
Councillor Diche.
4.
Councillor Sunkel. Councillor Mackay. Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Burns.
4.
Councillor
4.
Southworth.
4.
Councillor Scott.
Aye.
Councillor Robinson. Yes.
So that is passed 10-4. That is carried. You had to get the auditors in there and audit that. Recommendation 4. Moved by Councillor Burns and seconded by Councillor Robinson. Going to put this at large or? So we're going to go on voice on this. I'm happy with that. Recommendation 4, it's there. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, that's carried. Thank you for that. And then the final one, we have it recorded here on that last vote. That Councillor East voted against it, Councillor Sunkel voted against it, Councillor Mackay voted against it, and Councillor McKenzie voted against it. We've recorded Councillor Davies as voting for it. Okay, let's go to 6. Let's go to 6. Let's go to 5. And we've got moved by Councillor Southworth and seconded by Councillor Edge. Feeling of the room is that we
Full division.
Division's been called. Thank you.
Councillor Mackay. Councillor Korako. Chair Scott.
Aye.
Councillor Davies. Councillor Southworth.
Aye.
Councillor Pauling. Councillor Burns.
Aye.
Councillor Edge.
Aye.
Councillor Swiggs.
4.
Councillor Sunkel. Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Dicho.
4.
Councillor East. Councillor Robinson.
4.
Okay, thank you. That has passed. It's been carried 10-4. So that is agreed to. So thank you for that. I don't think we've got any more business. This will therefore be carried forward to a meeting on Monday where these votes that you've just endorsed will be given to LGNZ across and with 69 other councils. So it'll be interesting to see where this sits. The reason that we've got the situation we have is because there is that same division at National Council. I don't even know what the strength of that is. That's probably in this room. So that's just democratic, I guess, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So we're finished at the stage. And I think when are we starting back? Oh, the next council meeting will be held on the 13th of December 2023 at 10:30 a.m. And I think, Claire, you're up for, yeah, or you might.
Hei hi rārio mā tātou titilanga nei. Alaha atu ala mai, araha mai, tātou I tātou katoa. Uye taikia.